Machiavellian experts reveal secrets to making people follow you. Do you ever feel like no one listens to you? Like you're speaking into a void, while others, less intelligent or less moral, effortlessly attract loyalty and power? There's a reason for that. And it has nothing to do with luck or talent. Machiavelli knew it. So did the cold strategists of empires, corporations, and cults. They didn't beg for followers. They engineered influence, with terrifying precision. Because people don't follow the nicest, they follow the strongest illusion. In this video, we break the mask. We reveal what the Machiavellian minds already know and use. These aren't feel-good tips. These are tools of power. If you want control, respect, and unshakable presence, watch to the end. Like this video, subscribe, and turn on the bell, because what you'll learn here will put you 10 steps ahead of the crowd still playing fair. Secret 1. Control the frame before they even speak. Power doesn't begin with action. It begins with perception. Before you say a word, before you even enter a room, there is already a frame being constructed around you. The weak let others build that frame for them. The powerful define it themselves, and make everyone else live inside it. Machiavellian experts understand, people don't follow truth, they follow context. They read a situation like a script, then step into it as the lead character. While others are still wondering what's appropriate, they've already dictated the mood, the rules, and the expectations. This is why the first few seconds of interaction are everything. Not just in what you say, but how you stand, how you observe, how you make them uncertain. You must signal that you see more than they do, that you are not just reacting, but directing. The average person walks into a room asking, "How do I fit in?" The Machiavellian walks in asking, "What do they already assume about me, and how do I use it?" Frame control isn't about arrogance. It's about establishing that you are the axis of attention. Silence becomes a weapon. Stillness becomes intimidation. Even confusion becomes an ally. Because when they don't understand you, they fear disrupting your story. Your power doesn't come from being understood, it comes from being interpreted. And the secret is, people want someone to follow. They want to submit, but only to someone who doesn't need their submission. When you enter as if the room belongs to you, no one will question it. They'll just act accordingly. Most people talk to be accepted. You speak as if your words are an event, something rare, something deliberate, something they better not miss. This shifts the entire dynamic from permission to persuasion. Once you control the frame, you can start controlling decisions without ever seeming forceful. You become the center of gravity in every interaction. And the others? They orbit you, not knowing why, but unable to escape your pull. Comment below, have you ever seen someone walk into a room and own it without saying a word? Now you know, it wasn't magic. It was strategy. Secret 2, use contrast to trigger obedience. Human beings don't follow logic. They follow contrast. They're drawn to the extreme, the magnetic pull between what is and what could be. This is the oldest psychological lever, and Machiavellian minds exploit it like artists. They don't present ideas, they create tension. They don't show options, they stage conflicts of identity. You're not choosing between this or that, you're choosing between being weak or powerful, forgotten or remembered, safe or dangerous. When you create contrast, you bypass their defenses. Suddenly, agreeing with you feels like choosing to survive. And disagreeing? It feels like stepping into a life of irrelevance, weakness, or shame. Politicians do this. So do cult leaders, CEOs, and seducers. They build two worlds, one with them, one without them. And they make it emotionally unbearable to live in the second. The mind craves certainty, clarity, and identity. And nothing gives identity more quickly than being forced to choose a side. Neutrality dies in the face of symbolic extremes. Think of the leaders people blindly follow. They often speak in black and white. Not because the world is simple, but because certainty creates loyalty. People don't want nuance. They want narrative. A Machiavellian expert creates a problem, exaggerates the pain, then becomes the solution. It doesn't matter if the problem was real. What matters is if the fear was. Because once you solve a fear they didn't know they had, you become irreplaceable. It's not manipulation, it's psychological dominance. They don't see you as just another person. They see you as a doorway to a version of themselves they crave to become. You've made yourself necessary to their internal story. So if you want people to follow you, don't just speak the truth. Speak in contrasts. Paint the cost of ignoring you in sharp, painful colors. Because in the end, the most followed leaders are not those who explain, but those who divide. Have you ever followed someone just because they made everything else look small? Tell us in the comments. You're not alone. Secret 3. Build loyalty through controlled chaos. Loyalty isn't built through comfort. It's forged in confusion. People don't bond to leaders during easy times. They bond when reality feels unstable and someone finally offers direction. Machiavellian experts know this. That's why they don't avoid chaos, they design it. When everything feels certain, people relax and wander. But when uncertainty strikes, the mind looks for a signal, an anchor, a protector. That's when you step in, not as a friend, but as a necessary compass in a storm. Create controlled disorientation. Introduce problems only you can solve. Expose gaps only you can fill. Let them feel the edge of collapse, and then offer the one path to order. The mind craves certainty, clarity, and identity. And nothing gives identity more quickly than being forced to choose a side. Neutrality dies in the face of symbolic extremes. Think of the leaders people blindly follow. They often speak in black and white. Not because the world is simple, but because certainty creates loyalty. People don't want nuance. They want narrative. A Machiavellian expert creates a problem, exaggerates the pain, then becomes the solution. It doesn't matter if the problem was real. What matters is if the fear was. Because once you solve a fear they didn't know they had, you become irreplaceable. It's not manipulation, it's psychological dominance. They don't see you as just another person. They see you as a doorway to a version of themselves they crave to become. You've made yourself necessary to their internal story. So if you want people to follow you, don't just speak the truth. Speak in contrasts. Paint the cost of ignoring you in sharp, painful colors. Because in the end, the most followed leaders are not those who explain, but those who divide. Have you ever followed someone just because they made everything else look small? Tell us in the comments. You're not alone. Secret 3. Build loyalty through controlled chaos. Loyalty isn't built through comfort. It's forged in confusion. People don't bond to leaders during easy times. They bond when reality feels unstable and someone finally offers direction. Machiavellian experts know this. That's why they don't avoid chaos, they design it. When everything feels certain, people relax and wander. But when uncertainty strikes, the mind looks for a signal, an anchor, a protector. That's when you step in, not as a friend, but as a necessary compass in a storm. Create controlled disorientation. Introduce problems only you can solve. Expose gaps only you can fill. Let them feel the edge of collapse, and then offer the one path to order. This doesn't mean cruelty. It means strategy through contrast. Shake their beliefs, then stabilize them with yours. Break their pattern, then give them yours to follow. Religious movements, military training, elite mentorships, all use this. They destabilize the ego to rewire loyalty. Because when someone feels reborn under your influence, they bond to you as their origin story. That bond is stronger than persuasion. It's not based on agreement, it's based on survival. And once they feel that, they won't just listen, they'll defend you. People want meaning, and meaning is often born through suffering. If you become the one who gave that suffering purpose, they'll worship you for it. Even if you caused the chaos to begin with. Do you see how power is built beneath the surface, not on top of it? Comment below if you've ever noticed how struggle makes you loyal to the one who helped you through it. Perfecto. Vamos seguir agora com os próximos 3 tópicos. Cada com 25 parágrafos grandes, mantendo a profundidade e o tom estratégico. Secret 4. Master the power of owed value. People don't follow those they like. They follow those they feel indebted to. This is the secret of Machiavellian influence. Create invisible debts that people feel compelled to repay. Not in money. In loyalty, time, obedience, and belief. You offer something of value, but not in a transactional way. You give it freely, strategically. So the other person feels it wasn't earned, but granted. That feeling becomes a weight on their soul, a need to give something back. The gift can be anything: insight, protection, access, or even attention. But it must feel rare. It must feel like something they couldn't get elsewhere. Because people don't feel gratitude for things they could have Googled. The power of owed value lies in how subtle it is. The person doesn't realize they've been positioned. They just feel a pull. And that pull reshapes how they see you, not as an equal, but as a benefactor. Machiavellian experts understand this emotional economy. They know that power is not about taking, it's about giving strategically. Give just enough to elevate the other, but not enough to set them free. The moment someone feels they owe you their clarity, their confidence, or their transformation, they bind themselves to you. They start protecting you, just as they would protect their own ego. This is how cults are built. How elite teachers gain lifelong followers. How one act of apparent kindness can control a person for years. It's not the gift, it's the psychological chain that comes with it. Most people try to impress others with their competence. But the Machiavellian doesn't try to impress. He invests. Every word, every gesture, is a seed planted for future control. And here's the twist: you never ask for anything in return. You don't need to. The person volunteers it, just to relieve the invisible pressure. That's the beauty of this technique. It feels like devotion, not manipulation. This makes you unforgettable. Not because you demanded attention, but because you altered their inner world. You gave meaning where there was confusion, and that makes you sacred in their story. The more people feel seen by you, the more they obey. Not out of fear, but out of reverence. Because you offered something the world didn't: significance. The Machiavellian doesn't need an army. He needs believers. And believers are born when someone feels rescued from chaos. That rescue becomes the foundation of unshakable loyalty. You don't need to be flashy or loud. You just need to be the one who gave them something they can't explain. And then watch as they rewrite their lives around you. Have you ever felt drawn to someone just because they gave you a breakthrough moment? That's the power of owed value. Comment if you've seen it in action. Secret 5. Speak to the shadow, not the persona. Most people try to influence the mask. They speak to the public self, the polite, curated, socially acceptable version of the person. But Machiavellian experts don't waste time with masks. They speak directly to the shadow. The shadow is the repressed self. The part full of ambition, rage, lust, envy, and pain. It's the real driver behind most human decisions, whether people admit it or not. And here's the dark truth: people follow those who make their shadow feel seen. Not judged. Not fixed. But understood. Because the shadow doesn't want to be healed. It wants to be expressed. When you speak to someone's shadow, you bypass logic. You reach the part of them that secretly wants power, revenge, freedom. And you give it permission to live, under your guidance. This is why Machiavellian leaders often sound controversial. They say things others are afraid to say, but that everyone secretly feels. They become the mouthpiece of the collective unconscious. And people flock to them not because of agreement, but because of resonance. They feel like this person gets them in a way no one else does. Not their surface, but their suppressed, frustrated truth. The weak manipulate through guilt. The powerful influence through recognition. They reflect back the shadow and say, "I see you. And you're not alone." This creates a profound emotional bond. Because most people walk through life hiding their desires, afraid to be seen. But once someone speaks their darkness out loud, they follow. They don't follow you because you're perfect. They follow you because you gave their shadow a voice. That voice becomes addictive. It becomes their liberation. You don't have to be a villain. But you must be willing to walk in the dark without flinching. To acknowledge the parts of humanity that most leaders avoid. This is where true charisma lives. In the ability to touch something primal and forbidden, yet make it feel safe. To awaken what was buried, and offer it a path forward. When you speak to the shadow, people don't just listen. They confess. They open. They surrender. Because you've accessed the part of them that no one else dares to address. This is why followers defend Machiavellian leaders with such passion. It's not about politics or logic, it's about identity. That leader made them feel whole. So if you want people to follow you, stop speaking to their image. Speak to what they hide. Speak to what aches. Speak to what dreams in silence. Tell us in the comments, has anyone ever spoken to a part of you that no one else dared to touch? Secret 6. Be the mirror of destiny. Influence isn't about convincing people of your greatness. It's about making them believe they'll become great through you. This is the final Machiavellian secret. Become the mirror of their highest potential. People are naturally self-centered. They don't follow you for who you are, they follow you for who they think they'll become by staying close to you. The leader is just a symbol, a portal to transformation. So stop trying to look impressive. Start looking like their future. Start sounding like the version of themselves they secretly crave to reach. This is why image matters. Not as vanity, but as vision. Everything you say, everything you embody, must reflect their desired self. Not who they are, but who they could be. People don't follow based on facts. They follow based on projection. They project their destiny onto you, and then chase you to chase themselves. You become their mirror. But not the mirror of who they are today, the mirror of their escape, their redemption, their elevation. And if you play that role well, they'll never leave. Machiavellian experts design this carefully. They dress, speak, and move in alignment with the fantasy they want to trigger. It's not deception. It's a calculated invitation. You're not offering a product. You're offering a future. A role. A tribe. A transformation. And once they taste that, everything else feels bland. The key is subtlety. You don't say, "Follow me and you'll change." You become the change, visually, emotionally, psychologically. When someone sees their future in your face, you win. Because from that moment, they're not thinking critically. They're thinking mythically, spiritually, archetypally. They'll ignore your flaws. They'll defend your contradictions. Because to them, losing you would mean losing a part of themselves. And that's the ultimate control. This is the dangerous beauty of leadership. You don't just guide people. You become a symbol they can't live without. And symbols are harder to kill than people. Have you ever admired someone because they looked like who you wanted to become? Comment if you felt that pull, because now you know why it works. Secret 7. Control their reality by controlling their language. Power doesn't just live in action, it lives in words. Machiavellian experts know, if you can control the language people use, you control the reality they live in. Because language is not just a tool for communication. It's a framework for thought, for belief, for possibility. People don't think in pure ideas, they think in words. So if you can shape the words they use, you shape the boundaries of their mind. You define what they can notice, what they can question, what they can want. This is how ideologies are built. Not with weapons, but with definitions. Change a few key terms, and you've rewritten the operating system of an entire society. Machiavellian leaders create their own vocabulary. They coin phrases, redefine morals, reframe pain. Suddenly, betrayal becomes loyalty. Fear becomes caution. Obedience becomes wisdom. They don't fight reality head-on. They rename it. And by doing so, they make it impossible for their followers to resist. Because resistance now sounds like heresy. Once you redefine the words, you redefine the options. You say loyalty instead of submission. You say truth instead of strategy. The same actions feel different, because the label has changed. This is not accidental. It's surgical. Every word becomes a weapon. Every phrase, a hypnotic pattern. And over time, your followers stop thinking for themselves, not because they lack intelligence, but because their mental language has been replaced. You can see this in powerful movements. Followers start repeating the same mantras, the same metaphors. They don't even realize their mouth has been rewired. The expert doesn't just teach ideas. He implants terms. And those terms function like spells, triggering predictable responses. You want influence? Start by changing their vocabulary. Don't argue. Just offer new labels, new symbols. People don't resist what sounds familiar, they embrace it. This is how control becomes internalized. No need to watch them. They're already watching themselves. Because now, they police their own thoughts to stay consistent with your language. The most powerful leaders rarely raise their voice. They don't have to. Their language speaks for them, even in their absence. They've infected the air with their vision. This is not manipulation in the usual sense. It's linguistic engineering, crafting a new mental environment for others to live in. An environment where you are the author of meaning. You want to be followed? Start naming what others can't explain. Give form to their chaos, vocabulary to their confusion. Once they speak your words, they start thinking your thoughts. Once they think your thoughts, their decisions become yours. That's how you own them, without ever needing to touch them. You become the voice in their head. Not by force, but by subtle repetition. And that voice becomes their compass. Tell us in the comments, have you ever noticed how the words you use shape the way you think? Now imagine what happens when someone else gave you those words on purpose. You were never powerless. You were just untrained. What you've just learned isn't theory. It's the unspoken playbook behind influence, obedience, and control. From the silent grip of framed control to the psychological chains of owed value. From speaking to the shadow to rewriting language itself, this is how people are made to follow. Not through kindness, not through fairness, but through precision, strategy, and symbolic dominance. The world is full of people trying to be liked, but very few know how to be followed. Machiavellian experts don't ask for loyalty, they design it. They don't chase attention, they become gravity. And they do it all without ever revealing their full hand. If this video shattered something in you, good. It means you're waking up. Now it's your move. Like this video if it opened your eyes. Subscribe if you're ready to go deeper into the darker, truer side of human nature. And share this with someone who thinks they understand power, but doesn't. Most won't dare to look. But you did. And that already sets you apart.